welcome to this week's EventWell Talks. Bear with me because I'm also full of hay fever. I don't have COVID-19, so I'm a bit bunged up and stuff. But I'm not here to speak today. If you have any questions for Rachel, please use the Q&A function that you can see to the right-hand side of your screen to put your questions in there. What we'll do, we'll go to the Q&A session, which will be in about half an hour's time. We'll do about 15 minutes of Q&A today. We'll go with the most popular. So if somebody's already asked a question, put a vote for that, and we'll go with the ones in order in terms of most popular, so we can get through as many as possible. Without any further ado, as with our technical issues today, it gives me great pleasure to hand you over to Rachel McGuinness, founder of Wake Up with Zest and new member of the EventWell Board of Trustees. We're welcoming her to the team. So, Rachel, over to you on your session about how to sleep well when the world and your life is in meltdown.
Okay, so can everyone hear me and can everybody see my screen? So if we could just put in the chat box. So hopefully you can see my screen. So yeah, welcome to the webinar about how to sleep well when the world and your life is in meltdown. So it's a hot topic at the moment, sleep. So let me just go into what we are going to cover today. We're going to cover why we need to sleep, how your day will affect your sleep quality, why a bedtime routine is still really important during lockdown, the perfect sleeping environment, and relaxation techniques to send you off into the land of nod. So first of all, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. So even though I have a health and wellbeing business, I've had it for about 16 years, I used to work in the world of events. I started off in the hospitality industry, but I went on to work for the Duke of Edinburgh's Award and organised their Gold Award presentations at Buckingham Palace and St James's Palace, and then went on to be head of marketing and events for a telecoms trade association. So the picture you see on the left-hand side is me in the year 2000. And as you can see that I'm a lot larger than I am now. And I was actually 20 kilos, the size of a suitcase that you take on a flight, bigger than I am now. So in the year 2000, I was overweight, I was unfit, smoked too much. I was smoking between 20 to 40 cigarettes a day, drinking probably about a bottle of wine a night, because as we all know, the events industry is extremely stressful. I didn't sleep well, so I was an insomniac, and as a consequence, I got quite burnt out. And I'd spent actually about 20 odd years yo-yo dieting and discovering that diets didn't really work actually after a while. I should have stopped it ages ago. But in the year 2000, I was in Barcelona on a site visit for an event I was going to be running out there. And I had an epiphany moment. I woke up one morning in my hotel room after a heavy night of, well, it was client entertainment. So it was drinking too much, smoking too much, eating too much, and having very little sleep. And as I crawled out of my bed on the way to the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror and I just was horrified. I looked pale, I had dark shadows under my eyes, and I just looked awful. And I thought, do you know what? You're 37, you really need to get your act together. You're 3 years away from 40. So do you want to be fit and 40 or fat and 40? And possibly having a whole load of health issues as time went on, because my mother had been diagnosed with cancer. She'd already had a heart attack. My dad was on blood pressure tablets, and so was my brother. So things weren't really sort of stacking up too well for me. So I thought, right, okay, when I get back from my trip, I've just got to get a grip. I've got 3 years to get fit and 40. So when I got back, I stopped eating unhealthily, and I started to eat healthily instead of dieting. Gave up the cigarettes, cut the booze down to just drinking the odd glass of wine at weekends, and I joined a gym, and I got myself a personal trainer, because when I first got to the gym, I was kind of a danger to myself and to others. So a personal trainer sort of got me used to using equipment and exercising correctly. Now, within about 6 weeks, I noticed a massive difference in the way I looked and felt. I was sleeping better, I was losing weight, I had loads more energy. So I was a lot more productive at work. And instead of working the incredibly long hours from 7 in the morning until 9 at night, I was actually working 9 to 5 and fitting in, enough time to get down to the gym. So fast forward on 3 years, I decided to make a business out of what I learned and how I got fit and healthy, mainly because loads of people kept asking me how I did it. So I went on to train to become a personal fitness trainer, Pilates teacher, nutritional advisor, hypnotherapist, NLP master practitioner. And for those of you who don't know what NLP, it's neuro-linguistic programming, so fast track psychology for self-improvement. And then in the last few years, I've gone on to do cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia. Sleep was a massive problem for a few years ago, and I decided to train in it because I felt once I'd cured myself, I could help other people. And then I'm also a mental health first aider as well. So my company, Wake Up with Zest, well, I've been in the health sector for 16 years now, and Wake Up with Zest does talks and workshops on and conferences on health. I go into companies and I do health checks on employees and sleep consultations. And the latest thing I've launched is a low-cost well-being solution for small businesses. So I have an online well-being hub for small businesses that they can access to help their employees to be healthy. And the thing that we do at Wake Up with Zest is help forward-thinking companies and organisations help their employees become happier and healthier. And if they're happier and healthier, they're more productive and engaged. So the main sectors I work in are tech, travel, pharmaceutical, medical, events, and education. So the company works through what I call the 4 pillars of vitality. So 4 principles really: improving sleep, eating healthier, getting fitter, and being more resilient, which is really the key to improving your mental health. But we're going to focus on sleep today. So we actually need sleep to survive, and it boosts our immune system, and it looks after our mental and physical well-being. So what happens when we sleep is that our brain does a detox, and it can only do this in deep sleep, which is about 20% of your night's sleep. So what happens is when we're in deep sleep, our brain cells shrink down and cerebral spinal fluid comes up into the brain, and it shampoos in between all the brain cells, getting rid of a build-up of a sticky plaque that builds up during the day called amyloid beta. Now, amyloid beta, if it's left to sort of build up over decades, and this means, if you're not sleeping properly for a long period of time, this build-up can actually cause Alzheimer's and dementia. So it's really important that we get our deep sleep. And as I said, this only happens at this period of time. And also, if you've not slept well and you have that sort of muzzy, foggy feeling in your head, that's the amyloid beta not being sort of flushed out. In deep sleep, we also, our free radicals are also cleaned up, and these are the cells that potentially can cause cancer. And it's also when your cells, tissues and muscles are renewed and repaired. It's when we have the regulation and resetting of certain processes in the body. So that's blood pressure, your metabolism, your hormones, your digestion. So much is happening in deep sleep. And then it's like your brain does its sort of backup of what's happened during the day. So any learning that you've done or experiences that you've had, your memory will decide what it wants to retain and send to long-term memory, and what it's just going to junk and sort of forget about. And this actually, the movement from short-term memory to long-term memory actually happens in REM sleep, your rapid eye movement sleep, or your dream state sleep. So if you're not sleeping properly, and this is what I call my scary list, you're increasing your risk of anxiety, which could then lead on to depression, high blood pressure, stroke, heart disease, heart failure, type 2 diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, and dementia. So when I was suffering from a period of insomnia a few years ago, this was enough to scare me into making sure that I got a decent night's sleep or got my sleep back on track. So there's 4 stages to our sleep. So if you have a Fitbit or a sleep tracker, you'll be kind of familiar with these graphs. This particular one is taken from Fitbit. So there's 4 stages to sleep. So there's very light, deep, and REM sleep. And you can see on the left-hand side of the slides the percentages of the amounts of sleep that we actually need in each of those stages. We actually sleep in 90-minute cycles, and we'll go through the whole of those 4 stages. However, the first 2 cycles you can see on the graph there are predominantly deep sleep. So this is why it's important to get enough sleep so that you can sort of go through all of these different sleep cycles. And as you get towards the end of, say, 4 or 5 cycles, it tails off to be more REM sleep or dream state sleep. So, as humans, we are diurnal, we're not nocturnal. So we are sort of designed to be awake during the hours of light and asleep during the hours of dark. However, you get some people who like to stay up late and get up late, and some people who are early morning risers and they kind of run out of steam sort of mid to late afternoon. So this is known as a chronotype, and it's within our DNA as to whether or not we are early morning larks or late night owls. I could go into a lot more detail about that, but if you want to ask a question on it, please do so at the end. So it's really important that you set up your day correctly that will actually be conducive to a great night's sleep, because there are thieves out there that will steal your sleep. So we're going to go through a few of them now. Alcohol. We all love a little bit to drink, a glass of wine or whatever. I know I used to enjoy a few glasses of wine, but alcohol, even though it makes us sleepy, it's a sedative, will actually wear off after a certain period of time, which means that you're going to wake up, and generally it dehydrates us. If you've been drinking, something like red wine, you will sort of wake up in the morning feeling, or wake up in the middle of the night feeling really thirsty. It's also a diuretic, which means that you're more likely to want to go to the loo in the middle of the night. Also, alcohol will mess around with the filing of your memories from short-term memory to long-term memory. So it's a bit like having a drunken filing clerk. So if you're having problems with your sleep, lay off the alcohol, or just be careful with the type of alcohol that you choose. So for instance, I used to drink a lot of wine, but actually I found that I've swapped to drinking gin, but obviously keeping it in moderation. I find that it doesn't affect my sleep so much. Caffeine is another biggie. So caffeine is not just found in coffee, it's found in what we call normal builder's tea, green tea, chocolate, and fizzy drinks. So if you're having problems with your sleep, either reduce it or cut it out altogether. So when I was going through my period of insomnia, I cut out alcohol and I cut out caffeine completely. Another reason that this could be a problem is that caffeine blocks some receptors called adenosine, which lead to the drive to make you sleepy. So this is why you get wired and tired if you've been drinking caffeine. So caffeine actually has a half-life, which means that it can stay in your body for about 6 to 8 hours. So if you want to cut back on it, just make sure you stop drinking at least 6 to 8 hours before you go to sleep. Energy drinks are another one. So these are the types of things that sort of keep us going when we're at busy events and we're having to work long hours. However, they contain loads of caffeine and they contain loads of sugar, and they are not particularly good for you. If any of you are into gaming, I'm not quite sure, but a lot of people like gaming into the night. You know, it's quite a social thing for people. So you might have kids that do it, but this interrupts your pattern of sleep because people are staying up later than they should do because they're wired. They're probably taking in energy drinks as well. But it's just messing up the whole process of sleep when your body should be doing what it needs to do and do its repair and its recovery. It's very important that you shut down your tech at least 60 minutes before bedtime. Several reasons for this is that we have blue light that comes out of our screens, which mimics daylight. So when we're staring at screens at the moment, it's like staring at daylight. So I'm staring at a screen and also staring out of a window at the moment, so I've got double whammy of daylight. But in the evenings, we're supposed to be relaxing and, you know, feeling tired and ready for bed. And if you're staring at a screen, it's waking your brain up again. And it's stopping the production of melatonin, which is your sleepy, drowsy hormone. So another big no-no is tech in the bedroom. So please don't have your phones or look at your phones, tablets, laptops, or even have TVs in the bedroom. They can disturb you. They emit electromagnetic pollution, which disrupts your sleep. But also, if you've got things and they're not turned off properly, they're going to be pinging and dinging all night. And also, if you can't sleep, there's that temptation to pick up your phone, swipe through emails and social media. Another thing not to, or to shut your screens off at least 60 minutes before bedtime is that, you know, whatever you're watching will either stimulate you or stress you. So that's why you need to shut those screens off at least 60 minutes before bedtime. At the moment, the news is pretty depressing, so have a bit of an embargo on the news. I also think this includes social media to a certain degree, but I've now got to the point where I'm on a need-to-know basis. I'll just sort of check in and just see what the headlines are during the day, but you know, it's not good stuff. So I will say to people, always go to sleep on a positive note. So you don't really want to watch the news at 10 o'clock, you know, just before you're getting ready for bed. Another thing that or is a sleep thief are pets. So if you have pets that sleep with you, I know some people go, well, you know, they sleep like babies. I used to have a cat that used to sleep between me and my now ex-husband, and I realized actually for about 10 years I didn't get a decent night's sleep. So pets really should be banned from the bedroom. So it's really important to have a bedtime routine. So whether or not we're in a pandemic or not. So I talked about shutting off your tech at least 60 minutes before bedtime. But in the evening, sit in a sort of fairly low lit, dimly lit room, because what you want to do is encourage your brain to make you feel sleepy, to start firing off all your sleepy hormones. Because back in the olden days before electricity and we had all this bright light, we would just naturally go to bed when it got dark and wake up when it got light. But of course, modern living isn't conducive to a great night's sleep. And I was doing a webinar yesterday and somebody said to me, well, what do you do in that time if you can't look at your screen? So it's like, well, you know, maybe you have a bath or a shower. Actually, last night I actually had a foot bath because I've been out for a long walk, and that was so lovely and relaxing. I put some Epsom salts in there, or else, you know, I'm just tidying up before bedtime. You know, just filling up the dishwasher. You know, doing all those like household chores. Also, another thing that's really good, and if you're traveling a lot for your job, put some lavender oil on your pillow, because this is like an unconscious cue for your brain that it's sleep time. So if you're doing it when you're at home and when you're traveling, it just works the same. And it's what I do when I travel. I actually travel quite a bit. So it's good to have a good bedtime routine. Also, with your bedtime routine, it's good to go to bed and wake up more or less the same time every night, and that actually includes weekends. So you could probably get away with plus or minus 20 minutes, maybe up to an hour if you don't have sleep problems. However, your brain doesn't recognize weekends. So what happens is, if you're going to bed later on a Friday night, waking up later on a Saturday and Sunday morning, come Sunday night, you don't want to go to bed at your normal time because you, in essence, put your body in a different time zone. So it's known as social jet lag. So if you're having problems with your sleep, be really strict with the same bedtimes and the same wake up times. Now, Professor Matthew Walker, who wrote the brilliant book, Why We Sleep, recommends leaving an 8-hour window of opportunity for sleep. And a few years ago when I was going through insomnia, I was thinking, well, actually 6 hours is good for me. And I was feeling rested after that. And then I kind of built it up a little bit. But now that I'm leaving this sort of 8-hour window, I'm actually sleeping more. So I'm sleeping more like 7 to 7.5 hours. And I find it less stressful if I know I've got an 8-hour window of opportunity. If I get woken up in the night by something, I know that I've got a few more hours sleep, or I've already had enough, or I've already had a few hours sleep. So your sleeping environment is really important. So the perfect sleeping environment should be dark, quiet, well ventilated. So if possible, have a window open. If it's not possible, have a fan on. In the summer, I swear by my Dyson. The temperature, or the optimum temperature for sleep, should be about 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. It should be a calm environment because it needs to be for sleep. And it needs to be comfortable because you're going to spend 1/3 of your life in bed. So if you live to be 90, you'll have spent 30 years asleep. And the bedroom should be for two things, beginning with S. One of them is sleep. I'll leave the other one up to your imagination. And of course, you can read in bed. And if you are reading in bed, preferably read a book, but Kindles are okay as long as the screen is turned right down, and also if you have a tablet, screen is turned right down, it's in do not disturb or flight mode, where you're not going to have any other interruptions, or you're not tempted to have a little look on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, or check your emails. I quite often get asked as to what my bed is like, and I had a big overhaul of the sleeping department last December, and I got myself a new bed, and so I've got an IKEA bed frame. It didn't cost much. It's a king size. It cost less than 400 quid, but it's a really good solid bed frame. My mattress is one of these mattresses that you buy online, where you can get a 100-day trial. So if you're not happy with them, you can send them back after 100 nights. The one I've got is a Lisa, which is LEESA, and it's brilliant. So we did quite a bit of research to find out which was the best mattress. And we've also got Lisa pillows as well, and they're really comfortable, and they regulate your body temperature as well, so you don't get sort of like a hot head. I've also got a wool duvet from Urban Wool, and I found it much more comfortable to sleep in compared to a feather duvet, because wool is better at regulating your body temperature as well as what the pillows are. So I can really recommend a wool duvet. Oh, and of course Egyptian cotton sheets as well. So I like to have that sort of hotel quality feel on my sleeps. So if you're spending 1/3 of your life in bed, it's kind of worth investing in some nice bed linen. So we're going to go on to some sleep tips now. So the first thing is, not quite sure what it's done there. If you're finding it, if you've woken up in the night and you can't get to sleep, don't clock watch. So turn all your clocks away from you, or if you've got an Apple Watch or things like that, just don't look at it, because that's going to just cause more sleep anxiety. If you're into having a little bit of supper, or you want snacks that might help you sleep, so bananas and kiwi fruit are high in an amino acid called tryptophan, and I swear by bananas for jet lag. So if I am traveling either west or east and I can't sleep, then I always make sure when I get to my hotel that I get some bananas, so that if I wake up in the night, I can have some banana, and I find it actually does work. And that works both ways, getting home and also traveling to your destination. Nuts and seeds, almonds, walnuts, almond butter, oats, so porridge or oat cake, so a bit of almond butter on an oat cake would be great. Warm milk, tart cherry juice, chicken, turkey, game, oily fish, they all contain tryptophan. You probably won't want to have that as a sort of bedtime snack. Hummus on a bit of oat cake might be okay, might be a bit garlicky, but these are the types of things maybe you should be sort of eating maybe for supper if you're going through a period of not being able to sleep well. So the next thing I want to show you are some breathing techniques. Not quite sure why my screen keeps jumping. So it's very important that you breathe properly. Most of us, when we're stressed or anxious, we are shallow breathing. So if you breathe into your belly, which is the sort of yogic style of breathing, sort of nice deep breath and really push your belly out, that means you're getting more air into your lungs. So there's something called the 4-7-8 technique, where you breathe in for 4 and you hold for 7 and you breathe out for 8. So these are just 4 counts, 7 counts, or 8 counts, and you're just doing it in your own time. The next one is called 4-4-4. Don't know why the screen's jumping. Otherwise known as square breathing. So you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, and then just keep repeating it. So with all these, you know, try them 3 or 4 times, or just keep doing it until you fall asleep. And then the next one is just counting to 10. So you breathe in for 1, out for 2, in for 3, and you just carry on all the way up to 10, and then just keep repeating it. So I actually do that quite often. That's a good one for me, or 4-7-8. But actually, any of these breathing techniques can be used if you're feeling stressed and anxious. So they're not just for sleep. So they just help calm your parasympathetic nervous system down. Another one, which is a bit of what I call reverse psychology. So this is staying awake. So if you're lying in bed and you can't go to sleep, just stare at something in the bedroom. I mean, your bedroom probably isn't completely 100% dark. So just focus on something where your eyes are fairly relaxed and just stare at it. And you'll find that your eyes will sort of start to close. And as soon as you feel them closing, then just open them up again. And just keep doing that. And eventually you'll actually fall asleep. You won't be aware of you being trying to open your eyes again. So try it. It's quite a good one. So reverse psychology on that one. And then if you really can't sleep, just get up. Guesstimate, because you're not supposed to be clock watching, guesstimate about 15 to 20 minutes. Get up out of your bed and go and make yourself a cup of decaf tea or herbal tea. I recommend things like sort of chamomile or rooibos or redbush, and just read some fiction, something that's relaxing, or a magazine, something that's not too taxing. Please don't pick up your phones and start, you know, flicking through emails or working or do anything like that, because what you want to do is to get sleepy again, because you may have woken up in a sleep cycle. So it may take a while for you to get to sleep again. So it may take up to 90 minutes, depending on where you've woken up in your sleep cycle. To only go to bed when you feel sleepy. Because the thing that you don't want to associate your bedroom with is not being able to sleep. So it could start to become an unconscious problem, which is why cognitive behavior therapy is quite good for insomnia. But if you can follow those tips, they may work. And I've just realized actually on that slide, the book's in Russian. That's enough to send anybody to sleep if you don't speak Russian. So next slide. So we're kind of at the end of our presentation. So my whole thing is, if you look after your sleep, it will look after you, because in my mind, sleep is the #1 thing for your health, your mental and your physical health. Because now you understand so much happens during your sleep. So it's really important that you do get a great night's sleep, or get some help if you can't sleep properly. So before we go back to Helen, these are my details. So please do keep in touch. As my email address, my web address, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm quite prolific on social media at the moment because of the pandemic. And also I have a LinkedIn group called Wellbeing in Tech and Travel. Maybe I should change it to events as well, but you're most welcome to be a part of that group as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and hopefully everything will go back to normal. Ooh. Right, I need to.
There we are. I can hear you. I can hear you now, Rachel. Can you
Right.
hear me?
So can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Can everyone hear me? Yes! Yay!
So has anybody got any questions that you can type them in the chat
There we
box?
go. Let's say we don't have any questions at the
I can't hear.
moment, but that
I
was
hear.
I managed to hear all of that talk, so it was great. And you can see that I'm back in the playroom come study now. I've got the alphabet behind me if anybody wants to refresh themselves on the alphabet there. And no, that was brilliant and absolutely fantastic talk there, Rachel, and some really, really good pointers and tips. And especially important when you consider EventWell, we do research every year. And one of the things that we've actually identified is that 75% of event professionals are struggling with sleep. And one of the things we tend to hear an awful lot from event professionals is, I don't have time to sleep. The one thing we always say in response to that is, you don't have time not to sleep. So even if you do have a busy week where it could be that, when we get back to normal and we're back running our events again, we're back in that live environment, and you have a week where it's busy, you've got your event coming up, you're probably only likely to be getting 5 hours sleep. What we tend to say is follow the guidelines in terms of bedtime routine, haven to sleep in your bedroom, comfy sheets, all about. We love all of these tips, Rachel. Brilliant. Make sure that those 5 to 6 hours sleep are the best 5 to 6 hours sleep that you can get. And it's by following all of those guidelines you'll be able to do that. And then in terms of that sleep debt that you'll get during that week, make sure that you get yourself back into that routine at the same time to bed, same time up. And don't try so much to try and recoup the hours. The idea is to get the best night's sleep you possibly can and then get back to normal as soon as you can. Because sometimes lying in bed for a long time can be as damaging as getting too much sleep, Rachel, isn't it right?
Yeah, can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
we can hear you. Yes. Yeah.
Good. No, I've got my cameras all wrong. I have to look. Yeah, so sorry, you were saying lying in bed.
Yeah, so sometimes when you have a busy week with an event, sometimes you can coop sleep debts because it could be that you're only going to get 5 or 6 hours. So we tend to advise that make sure that the best 5, 6 hours sleep you can get by following those guidelines in terms of your bedroom being a haven to sleep, still have that routine in terms of the things you will do before you go to bed, so it triggers that unconscious trigger in your brain that you're going to sleep. But it's not so much trying to recoup the hours, is it, Rachel? It's just getting back to routine as soon as possible.
That's right. And even though you may have, like, as I say, shorter hours, just keep that routine going and doing the same things that you do at home. So that's why doing something like lavender oil is kind of like a bit of a ritual, really. And the scent is quite soporific, but it's kind of one of those things that I now associate with sleeping. So I've got diffuser in my room, so I put that on, and then I put droplets on my pillow. But wherever I travel now, I'm always taking lavender oil with me, because I just find it's just that when you're sleeping in a hotel room for the first time, the part of your brain, the reptile part of your brain called the amygdala, is kind of on high alert, really, because it's sort of sensing you're in a different environment. So it's all an unconscious thing. However, if you're doing something which is familiar, this is where it just helps you sleep better. Also, another thing is earplugs if you're away from home, staying in a hotel, because there's always like noise outside in the corridors and things like that. So I haven't got any on my desk at the moment, but the earplugs that you get from Amazon, and they're bright pink and yellow. They're called Laser Light. They're cheap as chips, but I always travel with those because I just find that it just helps me sleep better if I'm drowning out any external noise.
Another tip I've heard as well that someone said to me is if you have a partner that you live with and you're used to sleeping with that person, is having some of their scent and smell, like their aftershave in a little. You can get the little atomizer bottles, can you? I mean, some of the perfume or aftershave or scent, and squirting it on your pillow so you get that familiar. Particularly if you're staying in a hotel, would you agree with that?
Yeah, actually, it's a really good idea. Or sometimes what I've done is put the pillow next to me in the bed, so it just feels like there's someone next to me in the bed. So you cuddle the pillow, you got the snug. Anything that's going to help you go to sleep.
Yeah. Anything for that familiarity, isn't it? Yeah. Let's see if anybody's got any questions. So keep sending your questions, guys, if you've got anything that you want to ask Rachel while she's here. Any other top tip? Because obviously it's a difficult time for people at the moment. So what do you think would be the one key thing that people need to try to be doing at the moment?
Well, the thing that I've been saying to everybody, and it appears in every part of my 4 pillars, is routine and structure. So, whether or not you're being furloughed or it's to do with your fitness, getting up, it's just have a daily routine, because, at some point we're all going to be going back to what will be the new normal. And it's just important to have that sort of anchor of having that routine and structure for the day, so that's why sort of getting up at more or less the same time every day, getting dressed for work, whatever you kind of want to wear, and actually sort of doing something which is keeping your brain active. So if you've been furloughed, then it's a great opportunity to start learning stuff. So whether it's career related or maybe ask your boss if there's any training that they recommend that you do, so you can be a bit of a shining star when you go back to work and they can't wait to get you back to work. Or it's just like loads and loads of resources out there, like TED Talks, or a lot of the universities have got free lectures like Harvard or Open University. So it's just keep yourself active and have that structure to your day, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to sort of help you sleep, instead of kind of freewheeling through the day and not really doing that much. So I can see a couple of questions that have come up. So James, you say, I struggle to put stressful thoughts to one side at bedtime. Do you have any, do I have time to help with letting go of these thoughts in order to relax? So what I recommend people do is that if they're stressed, is to have a journal, write a journal. So write down what is bugging you in that journal, because if it's out of your head and onto paper, it's going to sort of bother you less. Also, another thing that I actually started to do is I don't like New Year's resolutions, so I'll call it a goal, that me and my partner do, is we write down 3 things just before we go to sleep, as to 3 positive things that we're grateful for that have happened during the day. And it's a really nice thing, because it just gets your brain thinking about nice things instead of worrying about this horrible pandemic that's going on. And if you've watched the news at 10 o'clock, which I told you not to, but yeah, definitely journaling really helps. So writing down your worries, or just diarising how you're feeling at the moment. It's a great therapy to do, just to get stuff out of your head and onto paper. So I hope that's answered your question, Jean.
That's a really good shout, Rachel. That's really good advice. I would completely recommend that too.
And then Eugenie, you say on site during an event, it may be complicated, but will you advise to also have a nap when we can? If yes, for how long? Yeah. So if you're not able to sleep at the right times, napping is good. So people who are night owls tend to fare better on napping than people who are larks. So these are the people that like to get up early. However, if needs must, then do it. Because with the early morning risers, what happens is if they're napping too much, it kind of pushes their sleep out of sync, and it's not working with their natural rhythm, their circadian rhythm, their 24-hour cycle. So the recommendations I have on napping are, up until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can take 90 minutes, which would be like a full sleep cycle. After that, I wouldn't recommend any more than 30 minutes up until about 7:30 in the evening, because it could then wreck your drive for sleep later on, and it just may mess up your sleep patterns. But always set an alarm so that you don't sleep more than 90 minutes. And it's the same for jet lag. If you're traveling long haul, just try and stay awake as long as possible. Get out in the daylight. Don't wear sunglasses, because you just want the light to go into your eyes, and just have a 90-minute nap and just see how you fare with that, and that might help you get over the jet lag as well.
Yeah.
And then make sure you're getting early morning light.
Any tips on where people should nap? Should they nap in their bed, or should they?
Good point, actually. I suppose if you're in a hotel, you don't really have much choice. But it depends, actually. I've done both. I've sort of gone to bed for a nap, or where I've been like really tired, but I just can't seem to get to sleep, and then the alarm goes off, and you wake up and you feel really groggy, and that's because you've woken up in the middle of your sleep cycle. But if you cannot associate your bedroom with napping and just for sleep, then I think if you can just like have a kip on the sofa or in a chair, something like that.
Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. Any more questions from anybody at all? Really good tips. Really good tips, Rachel.
There's so much to tell you about sleep. I could go into a lot more detail about it. Say it is one of my passions. It's a massive subject, but I think for people who are having problems, say for more than a few weeks, that's when you have to really start to sort of look at applying some of the things that I suggested. So when I had my problem with insomnia caused by massive stress, I actually started reading loads of books about sleep. They sent me to sleep. But I was really, really strict, because I just knew that I was really heading for some serious problems if I didn't get a handle on it. And also, if you don't sleep, you start to get, as I say, more anxious. If you go for several nights without with less than 4 hours sleep, your blood is like your body is like the equivalent of being drunk and being behind the sort of being like a drunk driver. So actually, you shouldn't drive if you're really, really, really tired. But it just sort of goes to show that your body sort of starts to kind of fail mentally and physically if you don't sleep. So that's why they say sleep deprivation is like the biggest form, is the greatest form of torture, because you just feel awful and you're snappy, you're angry all the time, you just can't think clearly. So that just gets worse and worse and worse. So what I did was I just cut out alcohol, cut out caffeine. I was really careful with my diet, made sure that I exercised every morning, and I was getting up, I was sort of exercising, I was doing meditation. And it took probably about 6 weeks for me to get back into a proper sleep cycle again. So it will take time. So it's not an overnight thing. You think, oh, right, I've done all these great things today, I'm going to sleep well tonight. So you just have to go with the flow. And if you wake up, you just have to sort of think, well, okay, I'm just going to relax now, and at some point I will fall asleep. But don't keep thinking about going to sleep. That's another thing.
It's the same, isn't it, with any kind of well-being or mental health, any kind of things that's associated with your health. There's no quick fixes to any of this. It's about lifestyle choices. You're doing things for life. So diet, nutrition, sleep, exercise, all of that. And quite interesting on the exercise, I have a Fitbit. And it shows me in my data that if I exercise that day, I actually get an extra 30 minutes of sleep. So it just goes to show how exercise as well is linked to the quality of sleep you get. If you want to watch a program on sleep deprivation, I can't remember what it's called, but you can Google it. I think they've got some episodes on YouTube, but they had a program where they took a group of young people and kept them awake for as long as they possibly could. And it's interesting viewing that will scare you as well, because obviously they go through that disorientation where you feel a bit drunk and stuff, you can't get, and then they start to do really, really weird and crazy kind of things. So we're just gonna extend that event. So Google that and take a look. Take a look at that. Okay. There's another question, Rachel, on meditations or mobile apps.
Yeah, okay, so meditation is really great. So this is where maybe you want to have your tech in the bedroom, but of course everything needs to be in flight mode and do not disturb. But things like there's an app called Calm or Daily Calm, and Headspace are really good. And actually, if you go to my website, wakeupwithzest.com, my business partner Nigel is giving away some of his courses free on meditation. And so if you want to learn how to meditate, he's got how to meditate in 40 days or 4 weeks. He's got loads of them. So have a look over there and you'll see on the front page it's got a coupon for free meditations. But Calm and Headspace are really good, or else just Google them. There's just loads of them out there. But Calm and Headspace you can get as an app on your phone. And then Casey's asking, what are your thoughts on why we dream at night?
Good question, Casey.
Yeah, I'm not really an expert on dreaming or what they all mean. And apparently at the moment, probably about 3 out of 5 people are actually sleeping better, but they're saying their dreams are more vivid. And I think it's because we're actually giving ourselves more time to sleep. You know, I was talking about the 8-hour window. And I have the most craziest dreams. But I think what it is, it's a sort of, when I was talking about your consolidation of memories from short-term to long-term memory, and that happens during REM sleep. Part of it is that. Some of it will be some of our anxieties that, well, I think your mental health, how can I put it? Your brain is sort of clearing up any sort of trauma that has happened in your life, and some of it will be really random, but you kind of think, well, why on earth did I dream about, you know, whatever I dreamt about last night? I think some of it is unexplained, but I think it's like a healing mechanism for trauma as well as the consolidation of all your thoughts and you know, going from short-term to long-term memory. That's really kind of what I know about dreaming, but it's a necessary part of your sleep. And some people will go, well, how can I get more deep sleep? Well, you can't. It's all about your quality of your sleep as a whole, because you need to have all 4 stages to have a great night's sleep. But it's a great question. I actually should do more research on dreaming. But there's lots of theories around it. There's a lot we don't know about sleep. And it's only really been in the last 50 to 60 years that sleep scientists have been able to learn more about, you know, the reason why we sleep.
Excellent. Yeah, perhaps we'll dig out some more information, Rachel, when we start working. I'll have a look at that when we push some information out on the EventWell blog in terms of why we dream.
Yeah. I'll make a note of that.
Excellent. Any more questions, guys? Any more questions from anyone in the audience? No? Excellent. Well, you've got all of Rachel's contact details that she shared, so do have a look at her website, and you can find Rachel's details on the EventWell website as well, so eventwell.org. We're going to go back into networking now. So again, apologies for the technical issues at the start, which have now solved themselves.
Yes. I can sleep soundly tonight.
Yeah, we will. We'll sleep soundly tonight. And following all these tips as well. Brilliant. So it's been a fantastic session, Rachel. Thank you so much for your insight and experience. You can go back to this on YouTube as well. So it has been recorded. So if you want to watch this again, visit our YouTube channel. Again, the links for that are on the EventWell website. You'll be able to follow it there. And if you've got any questions, we're going to hang around for a little bit longer and do some networking, and you can ask Rachel some questions yourself if you prefer. So thank you very much. We'll see everyone again in 2 weeks' time for the next EventWell Talks.